If you have been watching this show, you know we have been paying very close attention to questions of possible insider trading amid the Iran war. And if you think we don't cover it, I invite you to watch more often. In fact, questions we have been asking since Liberation Day are all around this when it comes to trading activity. Now, finally, regulators appear to be paying attention, too. Bloomberg reports that the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, is now investigating at least 2 instances where a surge in suspiciously well-timed trades occurred just minutes before our president changed his public position on the war. That is according to people familiar with the matter. There has been a growing concern over multiple instances of spiked oil trades shortly before major policy announcements. Bloomberg notes that the CFTC and Intercontinental Exchange declined to comment on the investigation, and a White House spokesperson referred the comment to the CFTC. For more, I want to bring in Josh Rogin, lead global security analyst with WP Intelligence. Ron and Dan still here. Josh, I'm so glad you are joining us. You have been following this issue closely. What have you found?
Right. Well, for months there have been suspicions that insiders have been leaking inside information about Trump's announcements in the war to trade on prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi to the tune of millions of dollars. And now what we've seen is an escalation of that strategy where insiders seem to be trading on futures markets and options markets to the tune of billions of dollars. And what's crazy about that is that in the April 17th, $760 million worth of oil futures were traded within a 2-minute span, exactly 20 minutes before a major announcement came in the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, which wasn't even a real opening, but that's besides the point. And in that corruption lies a bunch of crimes that the CTFC and the SEC and the DOJ could spend years trying to investigate. But the bottom line is that the corruption is endemic, it's systemic, and it's growing. And it's not only affecting those markets, it's affecting the entire oil markets and the entire stock market, because the scale of these illicit trades and suspected insider trading has gotten so large that no one's ever seen anything like it.
In a statement, the CME Group defended itself, and they went on to say the following: any review of market behavior must include all venues, including prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi. And we should note the current CFTC said is a Trump appointee who has publicly sided with the prediction markets. Don Jr. is an investor/advisor to both Kalshi and Polymarket. Josh, what is your expectation from this investigation? Because it blows my mind that the CME basically says it's not just me, it's those guys too. Almost you can't point at me for underage drinking at this party. Look in the backyard. We've all been partying all night.
Right, but just because the crimes are rampant doesn't mean that they're not crimes, first of all. And the second thing is that, you know, the context that you laid out is exactly right. We have an administration that's gutted public accountability, and, you know, the SEC main enforcement prosecutor resigned in protest because they weren't allowed to investigate cases related to the Trump organization and Trump associates. And the public integrity unit of the DOJ has been slashed from 36 lawyers to 2. Okay, under Trump. So the CTFC can announce an investigation, but there's just not a lot of confidence out there in Wall Street or in Congress, for that matter, that they're going to get to the bottom of this, because it's obvious that the president is not interested in this kind of accountability. And yeah, sure, you could point to Polymarket and Kalshi, but again, those are millions of dollars, and the futures trading corruption is billions of dollars. So it's an order of magnitude worse, but they're both corruptions, and you know, in a sense, they both need to be investigated. And it just seems like our oversight and accountability mechanisms in their current state are not up to the task. But I mean, fingers crossed, I guess.
Yeah, and I would also argue, yes, this is the worst we've ever seen. But make no mistake, members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, on every possible committee you could think of, not all of them, but all sorts of them, trade on an insane amount of inside information. And the worst part about it, it's freaking legal. What's your take on this?
So this is very interesting. This is a violation.
Yeah, it's
called
interesting.
The Eddie Murphy rule. This has come from the movie Trading Places, where Duke and Duke were.
Oh my God!
No, this is real. This is part of the Dodd-Frank Act. The Eddie Murphy.
I'm going to
rule,
play Jamie Lee Curtis. Dan's going to be Dan Aykroyd, and you can be Eddie Murphy.
Okay, fine. But you cannot trade by rule of Dodd-Frank on any inside material, non-public information that is given by the government or taken from the government and then trade in the futures market in the CFTC, which is what happened in Trading Places. There was illicit activity going on there. So this is an alleged violation of that rule, which, if investigated and enforced, would be punishable both civilly and criminally. But if.
Yeah, I take a little issue. Like the CME Group, this is the largest futures exchange on the planet, and integrity is really important, right? If folks don't think that this is a platform or this is an exchange where there are rules, right, and they're going to be monitored, that sort of thing, they're highly regulated. And their point about Kalshi and Polymarket, you guys saw John Oliver last night. He trashed these guys. There's no regulation. The people running these markets, they don't even know what they're, really, they were made to look like idiots. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that bit last night. I mean, they go round and round in circles. I don't think they have a good handle on how markets should trade. And if you're going to actually, has inside information and you want to kind of get on, this is not a market where there's two sides in a way where you have highly regulated people on both sides of it. So the CME and ICE, they'll get to the bottom of this. They need to, because integrity for their markets are really important. I don't think you can say the same thing about Kalshi.
Okay, Ron, here's the issue with that.
I don't think the exchanges will give anybody up.
Here's the issue with that. Yeah. I interviewed the heads of Kalshi and Polymarket at a live event, and it's like they were laughing in my face. They were looking at me like, okay, boomer, laughing their way to the bank. As the biggest investors on the street have given these boys and girls money, they think, as long as this is, it's just like, they're like, yep, until somebody makes the rules, we're just going to run and run and run. So are they going to win this game? Because they're laughing at us.
You need enforcement. You need...
By whom?
Again,
Congress.
Well, in this administration, you would need enforcement from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission that the DOJ would support, that the Trump administration would support, and you have Kalshi, which is now worth $22 billion. It's become a rather large entity in a very short time. My guess is that absolutely nothing happens.
Okay, quick before we go then, Josh, you just said Congress. Do you have confidence that Congress is going to do anything about it? Because you're right. This corruption, potential corruption, is larger than anything we've ever seen. But before this corruption, we've been talking for years about changing the rules for members of Congress, what they could trade. And what did they do? Nothing.
Right. Well,
and just say Abigail Spanberger, who put together a pretty extraordinary framework of how they should change the rules. Nothing ever came to a vote, and it was protected by leadership in Congress, because what do they like to do? Trade stocks with information that only they have.
Yeah, insider stock trading by congressmen and their staffs is a horrendous problem. But the Polymarket and Kalshi problem particularly has got a lot of legislation on it right now. I would point you to Senator Warren, Senator Whitehouse, Representative Richie Torres of New York, Mike Levin. They've all got bills to advance the idea that those Wild West markets need to be reined in and have some accountability or transparency, because it's not only affecting people's pocketbooks, but also our national security. And if Iran war decisions are being made by people who have a financial interest in it going one way or the other, then the tail is wagging the dog, and that's really bad for our national security. Will that advance? Not in as long as the Republicans are in charge. But if and when Democrats take control of Congress, that's when all of these bills are going to come off the shelf, and you're going to see real movement. So the party is not. It could be over pretty soon.
If and when
November, possibly.
Democrats, come November, I'm looking at you.